What's the story, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Look, I know I've been away for a while and I know how detrimental that is to my YouTube channel. Basically, you want to be as consistent as possible with this, and I just haven't been, to be frankly honest. Like, I just haven't been uploading as much as I should be. Yeah, I really do enjoy making this content for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy it when I do come out with a video. Your comments, your feedback, all that stuff means the world to me, and genuinely it just keeps me wanting to keep doing this YouTube thing. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna just keep pushing on and keep providing different content, useful and valuable content for you guys. And yeah, enough talking. Today I'm gonna show you how to fully make a realistic 3D character with dynamic clothing. Basically, I'm gonna show you in the simplest way possible to pull this off. Obviously, I'm only gonna be scratching the surface here, but I still think you can pull off something very realistic. And I'm going to show you a little reel, basically all the effects that I'm going to be showing you today. And yeah, by the end of this tutorial, you will be able to pull off something similar. So here is what we're going to learn how to do today. Baby, all you really want is love. Only talk to bosses independent, can't be fucking with a scrub. Girl, I know you can't be fucking with a scrub. I get this feeling in my stomach when you next to me. Man, I'm trying to get to know you sexually. Take you on shopping. Right, so if that's something that you want to learn, make sure you stick around. Like, look, this is one of the most frustrating things to try to pull off because you're using multiple different softwares, and the amount of errors and computer crashes that you'd get if you just try to do this on your own it's actually disgusting. Because my computer, I actually don't know how my computer is still working to this point. But anyway, I'm going to show you a foolproof way of doing it, a way that I have found that has worked consistently now over and over again. So that's basically why I feel like I'm ready to provide you guys with this tutorial. So enough talking, let's just jump into it. I'm going to give you a quick little rundown of all the different softwares and stuff that we're using in the description below. So before you hop into this, just make sure that you have a look, and yeah, let's get into this. Here we go. Now that we're on our computer, I just have 3 different face shots of myself. So for this software that we're going to use first, which is called FaceGen, basically you take a photo of your front and a photo of the left and a photo of the right. But as you can see here, I've just taken a photo of a front, and then I've taken one from a side angle and I just flipped it. I rotated it in Photoshop, and basically now I have a left and a right. So let's just jump into this software, and as you can see, this is one of them that I've already done, but for this tutorial I'm going to run through it step by step, and I'm going to show you exactly what I do. So let's just bring in our first photo, then our next one, and our next one. Right, let's just press next on that, and now we're just going to line up these with exactly what it says up in this panel here. Right, so just follow this process for the other 2 photos, and I'll be with you when I have that fully done. Right, so when we get to this stage here, we're just going to click only use the points for the profile photo. It means that the lighting is only taken from one of the photos, and basically it won't be a mix match. So just for the most consistent results, use that setting right there and let it do its thing. And as you can see, it's going to be fairly identical of what I just did. Bam. Right, so now we have our basically the morph of our face, and we also have the texture maps that we're going to use for our character. So the next step is just to come up to File and Export, and I'm just going to save this as something. Right, me tutorial 2, because I've already done this once and my camera stopped working. So this time, let's hope it works a bit better. So export all. It's gonna save to somewhere on your C drive, and basically it's gonna give us a list of different places to go to find the morph and also to find your texture maps. So unfortunately you can't just copy and paste that, so we're just gonna have to come over here to our C drive, and this is where I have it right here. So, and that's going to open up Daz Studio, and basically that's where we're going to apply the morph. So in here, let's just come over to our figures, and we're going to come over to our Genesis 8 basic male. So once we've done that, we can just come down here to our parameters. just scroll down, and as you can see, all our morphs are here. So I'm just gonna tune this up a tiny bit. I'm not gonna go the full way with this because it can get a bit too heavy on the actual morph. So I think that's good for now. The next thing I'm gonna do is just come over to my surfaces and let's apply these textures. So under our male, we're gonna come down to surfaces, and here are all the different areas where we can apply a texture. So for our face, obviously we're gonna come over here, browse. Now let's just go back to FaceGen, and as you can see, this is where all of our textures are being saved. So FaceGen, Genesis 8 male, and tutorial 2. Bam, there's me, and that is my face applied onto that texture. So we're gonna wanna do that now for all the other ones, and just a little quick tip, you can just come up here, press Control C on this up here, and now when we come back into our other areas, so let's say our torso, we can just click here, browse, Control V, enter, and then we can just apply our torso. So just one tip before we move on from here, don't add any hair from Daz onto your model just yet. We can do that at a later stage, but that was one of the main issues that I was having. If you export hair models from your Daz into Cinema 4D, it just causes the program to crash. So let's avoid doing that. We're just going to come up to File, and we're going to export this as an FBX. Let's just save that to somewhere where we know. I'm going to save it into here, and I'm just going to make a new folder saying Daz, and let's just save this as me from Daz. Right, here are the settings that I'm going to use. This is what I found to work, so just copy these settings down. FBX 2012 binary is a must, so just make sure you have that selected, and let's just go accept. Grand. Let that do its thing. Now we're going to just go into Cinema 4D, and let's just merge our project. Find where you've saved that character, just in exports here, and let's just bring them in like so. Right, so all the textures should be applied as we just did before, and we're not going to worry too much about the texturing just yet. We're going to come down here and drag our shape model out from our other models here. So let's just delete the root, and then you're just left with the Genesis 8 male. And the next thing we're going to do is just export this so we can use it in Mixamo. So export this as an FBX. And here are my settings that I'm going to use, 7.2 2012, and you can just copy the rest of them there. Okay, grand. Exports, let's just save this as C4D, and let's just name this me from C4D. Grand. Right, so we're flying along. Next thing we're going to do is open up Mixamo, and it's completely free, so just you can sign in with your Google account and you're away to go. Right, so I have Mixamo opened. I'm just going to come over here, upload character, and I'm going to upload that character from Cinema 4D. So let that do its thing, and I'll just explain to you why we needed to do those processes. So basically in Daz, it doesn't give it the correct bone structure for Mixamo, and also for Marvelous Designer. There's so much little issues when you're trying to go directly from Daz into Marvelous or Daz into Mixamo. So basically that's a workaround. Just delete the bones, and then we're going to reapply all the roots and stuff through Mixamo. That's basically what I learned to do, and yeah, it works perfectly. So let that just do its thing. We're going to align all the different little body parts, so then it'll create a perfect rig basically. And yeah, I'll be back to you when that has fully done. Right, so as you can see, our FBX file has came in perfectly. All the textures and stuff are there. So let's just line up our chin with our chin, wrists with our wrists, elbows, knees, and my groin. Next, right, it's gonna take another minute or two. And yeah, I'll be back when it is fully done. So as you can see, our character is fully rigged there, and the first thing we're going to do is just come up to our search bar and type in T-pose. As you can see, I already have it selected, so let's just select that, and we're going to export a T-pose straight away without even thinking about animations. That's the first thing we got to do. So just use the default settings and just export a T-pose. Right, so I'm just going to do a simple enough animation. Let's just do a walking animation. Some of these are a bit fruity, but yeah, this one, right, Grand, that works perfectly. And let's just extend it a tiny bit. Like that, perfect. So right, so once you have that, let's just use the defaults again, and let's just save that to the same place. And perfect, we have our T-pose now, and we have a fully animated character. So the next step is adding dynamic clothing. So when his arms are moving, you obviously want the folds and the creases to react to his arms basically. So that's what Marvelous Design is so good for. So I'm going to run you through how to quickly work your way around this. I'm going to do something really basic. One of the main things about Marvelous Design, and one of the main reasons why we exported that T-pose first, you're going to see why, but basically when you morph from a T-pose into the walking stance, you don't want it to be jagged. You want it to kind of slowly morph into that stage. So that's why we've exported a T-pose, and we've also exported the actual animation. So first things first, let's import that animation. All the defaults, let's import that animation, and it should just transfer like so. Grand. So if we were to come up here, animation, you'll see that all of our animation is fully attached to that, like so. Let's just come back in here and make sure that we are on the first frame. Up to File, Save As, and we're going to save this as a pose, right? Right, so we have our pose saved. We can just delete that avatar by just right clicking and deleting them. And now let's add in that T-pose. So import FBX, and we have our T-pose here. No problem there. We have our T-pose here with no animation attached to it. And all I'm going to do is just bring in a really simple t-shirt and shorts here. And all I have to do is just readjust these sleeves so that they snap onto the correct area. So I just hold Option, and I can just drag this to the right position. And we're just going to do the exact same with the other sleeves. So once we have that done, we can just press space, and that's going to just animate that in like that. It's going to simulate all the cloth textures as if it was actually a real piece of clothing. But while you're editing your stuff, you don't want the quality to be on the highest because it's fairly taxing on your computer. So let's just highlight everything over here to our particle distance. I'm just going to make that 20, and you'll see a huge difference here. Everything's going to zip along, and as you can see, if I was to press space now, and I can just rearrange this really quickly. Bam. I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. Obviously you can add a hood, you can do anything in Marvelous Design. You can give them a hat, you can make socks, but just for this tutorial I'm happy with how that's looking. So next thing we're going to do is just come over to File, we're going to open that pose that we just saved, still pose, and we're just going to change the point and joint translation. Press OK, and as you can see, that morphs it in really slowly into that start position. So all we have to do now is remember that there's no animation attached to that pose. So we're just going to come up to File, we're going to import again, FBX, and let's bring in that walking animation like that. Nothing should change here, but now the animation is attached to our character. Grand. Right. So one last thing we want to do is just highlight everything, right click them, and we're just going to that's a very hard word to say, quadragulate. We want to quadragulate all of our cloths there, and then we're just going to come over here to our particle size. I'm just going to use 10 for the sake of this tutorial. Don't want my computer crashing here, so I'm just going to press space now, and that's going to render that all in, and things are going to get a bit slower. So next step, we're just going to animate this, right? So we're going to come down to simulation, animation, and all we want to do is just press this little button here. That's going to just play the animation with that cloth on it, and all those creases are just going to react to our character in that position. So I'm going to let that run its thing. Doesn't take that long, literally less than a minute, and then I'll be back to you guys, and we're going to fully bring both of our model and we're going to bring our clothing straight back into Cinema 4D. Happy days, that's all fully done there. I'm just going to click that, Control A, up to File, and I'm going to just export this as a albumic, whatever it's called. Press OK, and that's all good to go. That's going to do its thing, and now we're back in Cinema 4D to just apply the final touches. So in Cinema 4D we can actually just delete that character, and now we're actually going to make a new project. Let's just start from scratch. Gonna open up my Octane preview window, and just to give you a bit of more of a realistic look of how this is actually gonna look. First of all, we're gonna merge our project here, and let's just come back down to our Marvelous, and let's get our clothing in first. Gonna just do it 30 frames a second because that's what our project is at, and the scale is 0.1. That's important because that's gonna fit onto our model perfectly. Grand. Right, so as you can see, that's looking good in our window here, and let's see if the animation is attached to it. Yeah, it's all there. So let's come back, let's merge project again, exports, and we're gonna use that one, that brutal to walk, like that. And no, we don't want to reassign them. And that should just import in the perfect position like that. Obviously, there's still a good bit to do here. So first things first is from Daz, the eyes from your character are a bit wonky, and let's have a closer look at how these are looking. So they're like fully blacked out. So let's fix that first of all. So first thing we're gonna do is just come over here to our settings in Octane, come over to our path tracing, and I'm just gonna change that to 2048, grand. Come down to our ray epsilon, and let's just bring that all the way down like that, and still nothing has happened, but that's because we just need to add in a specular. So come into our specular material, and under the common section we're just going to add fake shadows and thin walls, and under that we're just going to press Control Option, drag and drop that onto eye moisture, and we're also going to drag and drop that onto our cornea like that. And as you can see, that's given a lot more of a realistic look there. Obviously you could spend days if you want to just texture your eyes, texture your face, do all your skin textures and stuff. But just for this tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to get a nice, quick, realistic look on your model with nice clothing. And yeah, I think we are nearly there. So next thing, we need to add a floor. So I'm just going to add a plane. And what else can we do? We can come up to our lights, and we can add in a HDRI environment. So in here, I've got all my HDRI environments from HDRI Haven. I'll leave the link in the description below, all completely free. Just gonna bring and drop that one in like so, and as you can see, the lighting is already looking a bit more realistic. So obviously we want to add in a few more lights. We can add in a daylight here, and as you can see, that will cancel out the HDRI. If you don't want that to happen, just come over here to this little toggle here. Let's just mix the sky texture, and now we can just add a bit more power to that sun like that, and that's looking a lot better like that. Cool. Right, so the last thing that took me a while to get my head around was texturing the clothes that I just made. So first things first, we want to make this look a bit smoother. Gonna just come over here and add in a subdivision surface, and let's just bring our clothing material underneath that subdivision surface, right? When it's in that, we can come down to our selection tool, select, fill selection, and we're just going to want to make this editable here. Make sure that the animation still plays, and it still does play. So I'm just going to select a few things that I want to add some texture onto, like so. And right, that's looking pretty good like that. I'm just going to come up to my materials, add in a diffuse material, and obviously this, I'm not really texturing these, I'm literally just adding some branding or something onto this, and I'm just going to drag and drop that onto that image texture like that. Perfect. Right, so we can just drag that onto our clothing there, and as you can see, the Nike sign isn't anywhere to be seen. If you want to fix that, we can just add in a transform node like this, and we can just drag and drop that into transform like so. And now we can just rescale this. Something like that is kind of cool. And now I'm just going to rotate this a tiny bit so it's not all uniform like that. Cool. Right, so obviously within that texture node you can add in the material, the cloth, you can do so much more, but this is going to be a longer tutorial, so I don't want to run into that. Obviously, let me know in the comment section below if that is something that you want to see, and I can run through that. So last but not least, let's just add in a camera here and make this a tiny bit more realistic. I'm just going to hit that little node here so we can see what our camera sees, And I'm just going to add in a nice little linear camera here, and we can just up the brightness and we can mess around with the gamma a tiny bit like that. Cool. Right, bump up this and let's just turn that a tiny bit like that. And then in our f-stop, let's just bring this down a tiny bit just to add a bit of bokeh in, and click our F for focus, and we can just focus on there. Right, I'm gonna render that out, and then you can see how the actual material and our character are looking in that quick little scene setup. So here it is. Right, so that was the tutorial today, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it might be a bit of a longer tutorial, but basically that's why I've been away. New techniques, and I'm learning new softwares and stuff that I think will provide a lot more value to you guys, and it'll allow you charge more for your client work or music video work, in my opinion. You just let me know if these types of videos are something that you enjoy. I really do enjoy making them. Obviously after filming them there's a lot of editing that goes on, but I really do enjoy the process, and I enjoy your feedback and all your positive comments down below. So one last thing I forgot to mention is that the website was currently under maintenance. I know some of you guys have reached out to me saying that you can't get your hands on some of the project files. I'm actually currently in the process of doing a full update on that website. So yeah, a lot more to come from me. If you made it this far into the tutorial, thank you very much. And yeah, see you.
Too much distance, too much space. You need to come back home and run alone. Yeah, I'm waiting for the light to change.